university. I teach at the main place, the Spanish. But apart from that, I think it's just recently that I've started working with my student body, with my students. By students, I do not mean that I engage only with the ones that I teach in the classroom, but most of it is outside of the classroom. If you could please, so I started again. So I don't have any, while I need to story on, I don't have any magnificent stories to tell because I don't have none. I haven't done anything worth mentioning in this platform. But I just thought that why not share my story, my journey with my students. Some of them my students. I consider you all my students. Thank you. So I'm going to share my journey of being numb for most part of my life, and then eventually realizing that it's okay to be challenged, it's okay to be physically, psychologically, and emotionally challenged. And I started sharing my survival kit with my students. It all started, to be honest, I had a long list of notes. I worked on it. My students are sitting there and I'm sure some of them are like, your turn, you're keeping an eye. But, I have a long list where as of now, I think you might have to dance to my stream of consciousness and make connections and pull threads as I just talk about. I'm going to quote multiple instances, I'm going to quote dates and all. Probably you need to interact, you need to engage with me during my talk because most part of it might be incomprehensible. So this is the topic, vulnerability, lie, art, exhilarates. The topic sounds very fancy, somebody said so. But talking about perhaps, the time when I was working with British Red Cross and I was working with these asylum seekers, so I started reading about it. So there are three things normally that people do. They prefer to be numb. I've done that almost half of my life. Sometimes people disrupt their joyful moments. For example, back then, I realized that when that German guy was trying to read me a magazine, I was disrupting that thought. I was not enjoying it because I perhaps felt that no, it's not good to enjoy at the moment. No. What is going to happen tomorrow? How will I manage? What will happen? Or either there are some exceptions when people aim for perfection and they get absolutely occupied, workaholic, busy all the time. I couldn't do that. I'm not a workaholic. I've done the other two all my life. So it didn't stop until I came to Watani Aziz and I started working here, for an NGO. My focus had changed. I left the country because I wanted to finish my degree and be a scholar, but my focus shifted. I thought that I'm going to work around my students. I want to work around the young people in my country, and perhaps we're going to build a community where we're open and we're happy to talk to one another, where we don't judge one another, actually don't judge one another and be truthful to ourselves. Interestingly, I had been in study for discourse. I've been trying to convince my students, most part of my teaching, to use the proper words, to make sure they have a stance of their own, to make sure they're using the proper transitions, the thoughts are logical and coherent, and everything makes sense. And on the contrary, I struggled miserably with discourse, with the inner discourse. I did not know what to do. I did not know how to make sense of things. I had no stance of my own. And probably I'm saying this for the first time in front of my students that I never had one. Even though I might be telling in your classes that, your stance is not clear. Come up with the claim, the counter claims. No, I have nothing. So I was still struggling. So I'm talking about the year 2018 now. I was hit by another trauma. But this time, I was more engaged. I was more mindful. I was more aware. I did not shy off the moment. I was ready to talk. I was ready to negotiate. I was ready to reveal myself, my truth. And I didn't care whether anyone is going to stand next to me or not. And perhaps at that point, there's one character who played a major role. Again, I come from a very, very protective family. I've been the only girl perhaps, I've been overshadowed and over-pampered in so many ways, so let's not get there. So this one character that I met in 2018, I'm sure you all are struggling with my thoughts. It's absolute stream of consciousness. That's all I could fabricate for this entire thing. I met a guru, Zubda. Zubda changed my life forever in 2018. My mom is going to be furious, if she listens to this, and my brothers as well. Like, oh my God, we've been trying all our life, to pull you out, and you're talking about Zubda, a guru who changed your life. Yes, Zubda changed my life. I met Zubda on 14th of May. I'm really bad with dates. Bad as in people don't like the idea that I have dates for everything. It just sticks into my head. So it was 14th of May. 14th of May in 2018 was a lot more better than what we've experienced on this 14th. So I met Zubda in one of the streets in Lahore, and I just spoke to her. This is what has happened, and I was crying on the road driving the car. I was crying. I was upset. You know what Zubda said? When Amrita was talking about that chappal, she was wearing that cross chappal, kala kurta, phata wa dupatta. And Zubda said, it's okay, just dance through life. And she gave me one of the most finest tours on the road. Somehow it clicked. Zubda is one of my best friends till date. She calls me, we talk over the phone as well. And Zubda has helped me talking about her moments of vulnerabilities. She's been telling me that it's not easy, it has never been easy for anyone. But you need to engage with your vulnerability. And what does it mean? That you respond. Don't act numb. You're not numb. You're not dumb-headed. We experience feelings. And what happens when you actually reveal your true self? What happened to me? I had to let go of some of very precious bonds. I had to let go of them. But I found new connections. Probably I revived the older connections as well. I was more happy in my own skin. Well, at the moment, not very happy with my skin. I'm more concerned, to be honest, about my double chin and the bulges, instead of talking about the talk, to be honest. But then I think I have achieved a certain level of confidence, and I'm okay engaging with my vulnerability. So my last thing probably would be, especially to the student body, is pull these threads together. It's good to have conversation at home with friends, but be very mindful of these strangers in your life. They don't belong to you, you don't belong to them. Sometimes you don't even know their names, but they're there for a purpose. They give and engage in that inner discourse. It is okay to be vulnerable, it's okay to be emotionally challenged, because I see students coming in and telling us, oh my God, my apparent let me have that new mobile phone. Oh my God, Amma ni pyar nahi karti hai. These are not the issues. But then in their own capacity, they all justify. Anything which affects you emotionally is justified. But at the same time, it is okay to have those feelings of shame, of uncertainty. And lastly, all I have to say is, take small steps and be vulnerable. Thank you.